All right, well, unfortunately, it's been almost a month, can you believe it, since the war started in Ukraine. And today, in the capital of Kyiv, there was a massive explosion at a shopping center that was hit by a Russian missile. It's so hard to even look at the footage, right? At least 8 people were reportedly killed. Meantime, several well-known celebrities are getting involved to help with the war effort. Mila and Ashton Kutcher had a video call with Ukrainian President Zelensky. He thanked the pair for raising nearly $35 million to support refugees. Next, David Beckham announced on Instagram that he's handing over control of his account to a Ukrainian doctor. So now all 71.6 million of his followers can see what she's doing. Now, Dr. Irina is the head of Perinatal Center, and she's showing what it's like working in the middle of the war, including where pregnant women, look at this, you guys. This is where the pregnant women were evacuated to. Those are underground bomb shelters. She even shows some of the newborns. Finally, Maksim Chmerkovskiy gave an update from Poland where he's helping Ukrainian refugees. Some people, we've talked about it on the show, had criticized him for fleeing the country when the war began. He ended up going back to help with the refugee crisis. What are you thinking, Erica?
I think, you know, sometimes when we talk about social media or the power that social media brings in terms of connectivity, we kind of like, a lot of people will look down on it because it's like, what are you really doing? But this really shows that you can put action behind it. And when people are thinking about activism, like when someone does something and all of a sudden they're an activist, they may not be an activist in the traditional historical sense that we're used to hearing, but this is a different form of being able to help. And any way that you can meet the moment from where you are is going to be important and make an impact.
Yeah, I think that it's not just guns and bombs anymore, right? This war is a war of information. That's what it is. It's what Putin is telling his people and what Ukraine is actually trying to get out. So if you have the power to get real information out from a crowdsourced doctor on the front lines, that's a weapon. That's as good as a gun. That's like what the Russian woman did on TV. Don't do this war. That's her truth. She's a soldier of information.
Speaking of that, before you chime in, Al, we talked about Anonymous, which is a hacktivist group. So now what they've done is they've gone all over Russia and they've actually been able to hack into security cameras, and they've been able to inscribe in Russian what's really going on. Wow. So if someone's inside a store and they look up at maybe their billboard in the store, whatever it may be, it's Anonymous, a hacktivist group saying, do not believe President Putin. Children are dying. Wow. Innocent people are dying. So, yeah, it's changing minds.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we are, and I think this is something that Putin, did not see coming.
I agree with you, Al.
He is an expert when it comes to Cold War tactics. He's an expert when it comes to being icy cold and direct in his action. What he's not an expert in is TikTok. And who would have thought? Remember, I mean, let's not forget that the TikTokers, remember they ruined that Tulsa rally for Trump? I believe it was Tulsa, by buying all the tickets and then not showing up.
No one showed up, right?
This is not about Trump. I'm just saying, all the people at home that they call slacktivists and like, oh, you're not doing anything. That's how you affect real change, and it's people that don't really understand that world, and it's really most of our world now is online. So I think he really miscalculated. I think he's paying the price for that.
Well said. Before we get to this little girl, I can't wait to give you an update on the little Ukrainian girl. You'll remember her. I just want to say, speaking to your point, Erica, I have to give Bethany Frankel credit.
I know.
From her online account, she's raised $135 million. That was last week. So who knows if she's up to like $150 million.
Bethany Frankel was also sending her plane over to Puerto Rico.
Yes. Yeah, Be Strong is her foundation.
With supplies.
And it goes to disasters.
She's been the real deal for a long time.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about this very special little Ukrainian girl who went viral for this video. She sang Let It Go. We talked about it here in a crowded bomb shelter. She got a standing ovation from everyone. Look at her now. She sang the national anthem last night at a stadium in Poland in front of thousands of people at a charity concert.
You know what's crazy about that is the lack of music. The haunting sound of her little tiny voice trying to be the hope throughout all of this breaks through in the bunker, but also without music doing the national anthem, that same hope, it gives you the goose pimples because it's just the littlest voice of Ukraine trying to take over the biggest part of Russia. It really is a metaphor for what's going on, the David and the Goliath of the moment. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Where do we go from here? And I know we've talked about this. I know none of us are foreign policy experts, but considering that it's been a month now Right? And I want to give you an update on the family that I know that lives in Ukraine that tried to escape. I tried to help organize some resources. They ended up staying to fight. And they are now, I guess, in a position where they feel comfortable. Maybe they're in Kyiv, maybe to the point where they don't feel like they're... Let me just tell you what they're doing now. And you can go to my Instagram at Sam Shocker. I just posted their link. They started a charity.
Wow.
Boots on the ground charity to help out their neighbors, to help out their friends in the bomb shelters, even though they're going in and out of bomb shelters. They are raising money. 100% of the funds are going to their neighbors and to themselves, but mostly to their neighbors, medical supplies, food, helping people escape that want to escape. So not only are you getting people overseas that are trying to help the Ukrainian people, you have people in Ukraine trying to help their community.
Sam, I'll tell you what I hope from this, because when the day that Russia first invaded, my first thought was like, oh, people still do that? Right. It seemed archaic. It seemed like that's not how we fight wars. We do it cold. We shut your internet off. We don't do trading. But like, I think the whole world, when we saw what we had really only seen in movies and in old World War II, in Vietnam footage, everybody's like, this is not how the world looks or acts anymore. So I hope this next generation of leaders that are all 7 or 8 years old in every country all over the world now realizes what that looks like, dropping missiles on pregnant women. And I hope that we are all outraged and we just move away from it, because it just seems barbaric at this point.
And outraged around the world.
Exactly.
Not just in Ukraine.
Exactly, because I don't think we are surprised by it. It's just the way that the victims in this equation look. There is an empathy factor there. There's a sense of they are one of us, because let's be clear, there have been conflicts, wars, mass destruction all over the world. They just didn't look like the people who are at the forefront of the mainstream media telling the story.
So Yemen's going on 8 years now.
Yeah.
And they have the largest refugee crisis, humanitarian crisis in the world right now. Not to detract or distract from anything going on in Ukraine, but to Erica's point, please educate yourself on what's going on in Yemen as well.